Hi and welcome to this week's web design video blog. Today Nick and I wanted to share our opinion of the trending topic of HD web design, and particularly in light of Apple's Retina Screen debuting on the new MacBook Pro.
HD has become part of our everyday lives ever since the acronym was coined for HD TVs almost a decade ago. The term has stuck, it's still trendy, and with the current leaps in computer screen resolutions, it's only natural that people might expect the web to go HD.
So by HD web design, we mean creating websites that are native to a higher resolution than the traditional 72 dpi that the screen-based industry has become accustomed to.
The idea of HD websites isn't new. 2 years ago, Apple introduced the world to their Retina display on the iPhone 4, boasting an impressive 326 ppi resolution and pioneering the accessibility of web browsing with smartphones.
Although this high-resolution screen is impressive, you're still only getting a landscape width of 960 pixels, which is pretty much the average minimum width of a modern website.
So the iPhone 4's resolution wasn't necessarily making anything HD. It was in a way allowing users to browse the full, regular internet without having to pinch and zoom as much. So as long as your eyesight was alright anyway.
The new iPad 3, however, took this one stage further. The iPad's Retina display is a higher resolution than the brand new flagship 27-inch iMac. And with the large display of the iPad, you can clearly start to see the difference in clarity compared to the older versions of the iPad. And you've only got to compare an HD iPad app with a lower resolution app for the original iPads to see the difference and also the potential for HD websites.
Now that the Retina display is making its way onto the mainstream Mac computers, users will easily be able to distinguish between HD elements and 72 dpi elements.
I'm of the opinion that Apple are testing the water with the Retina display on the MacBook Pro, gauging the reception before factories get to work on the MacBook Airs, iMacs and Cinema display. So although the Retina screen appears to bump up the price, Apple have overcome the skeptics' assumption that Retina would come at the expense of the battery's life.
It's fair to say the MacBook Pro's Retina display is as good as it looks. It will take off. When it does take off, I'd expect other brands to follow suit, packing more pixels into the square inch than their smartphones, notebooks and computer displays.
So what does this evolution mean, and how can we begin to change the way in which we make websites so that they're as sharp as possible on Retina displays? Well, the best advice is to think vector. Vectors are scalable, mathematical elements that remain crisp at any size, unlike pixel-based raster graphics that turn into a mosaic whenever you zoom in.
So where do you start? Well, if you watch the MacBook Pro Retina video on Apple's website, you'll hear the quote, "Typography looks amazing. It's sharper than a printed page." Typography is a great starting point in changing your mindset for HD ready or vector website design. If you're not doing so already, use web fonts over flattened images, as type will automatically remain vector.
Next, you want to look at imageless graphic techniques that have evolved with CSS3. Shadows, gradients and rounded corners, to name just a few, give the designer the ability to construct their layout with scalable, low file size CSS3 coding that could only have been done with images a few years ago.
Another tool in your HD vector library is a little known SVG or Scalable Vector Graphic file type. Although not compatible in IE 6, 7 or 8, SVG graphics are vector image files that can be used in place of GIFs, JPEGs and PNGs. Again, they're a low file size, and because they're vector, they look crisp on Retina displays. Check out the Apple's navigation bar. They've recently updated their Apple logo type to the SVG format to ensure the navigation bar is HD on their various Retina products.
The biggest hurdle, however, will be photographs. Photographs can't be vector files, they're almost always going to be pixel-based raster images. Now, despite there being some techniques available within the community for loading high-resolution images for Retina devices, this involves additional development, and not to mention that higher resolution stock images will cost more and take longer to load.
In conclusion, there isn't really a specific HD resolution to work to. It's merely a culture change of working with vector elements such as web fonts, SVG images, CSS3 and HTML5. The less pixel-based images you can use in your website, the sharper it will look on a Retina screen, particularly when you zoom in.
However, don't let this restrict your creativity. It's going to be a good few years yet before your average web user is browsing the internet on a Retina quality resolution desktop or notebook. Change your habits over time, and remember that the web isn't necessarily going HD, it's going vector.